Thank you very much, Ocean. Many years ago, many decades ago, when I first started running poetry workshops in Barnsley, there was a chap who used to come to these workshops and pretend to be Douglas Dunn. And it wasn't Douglas Dunn. Douglas Dunn is a recognisably Scottish gentleman with a beard, and this fellow was a tall chap with no beard, and he kept going, "Yes, I'm Douglas Dunn." And he'd read Douglas's books, he could talk about Douglas's books, he would write poems that were pastiche of Douglas Dunn, but he wasn't Douglas Dunn. And to this day, I've never worked out quite why, except that if you wanted to be a poet, you would want to be Douglas Dunn, that's a fact. But when I think about that, I think, well, actually, there is no point pretending to be Douglas Dunn, because Douglas Dunn is the best Douglas Dunn that we have. And when I read Douglas's books, I'm reminded how good he is, and I'm reminded that as you get older, poetry is the opposite of badminton, because it strikes me that as you get older, badminton gets less easy and less well done, and as you get older, poetry also gets less easy, but you can still do it just as well. And that's the fantastic thing about this new book of Douglas's, which is about life and about death, about learning, about writing, lots of poems about writing, and poems about growing old, but definitely poems that are authentically by Douglas Dunn.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here. There is another Douglas Dunn, at least one other. He's an American choreographer and ballet dancer, a protege of Merce Cunningham. And so back in the early 1970s, when he was on tour in this country and performing at the Riverside Studios, a so-called friend of mine sent me a photograph of Douglas Dunn in action at the Riverside. Very tall, athletic fellow doing something extremely remarkable in midair. I don't need to tell this audience about Shakespeare's play, Hamlet. In Act 4, there's an encounter of Hamlet and Horatio with the ghost of Hamlet's father. Horatio is astonished and perhaps a little bit incredulous. And Hamlet says to him, there are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than in your philosophy. And Horatio says, yes, 'tis wondrous strange. Poem about borderline experience and its temptations, the temptation to exaggerate it. Wondrous strange. Now it can almost be heard, but not quite almost. Still on the far side of nearly, it is the melody of a floating feather. A spider web tickles my cheek in the dark garden. A briar plucks at my sweater. Wind on a windless night wafts through my hair. Or the aroma of sandalwood soap, when that's impossible. Or of fenugreek, or the scent of one who is no longer here. Or something I half believe I've seen, a glisk of movement on the hill's horizon, an ominous shadow cast by nothing at all. Then there's a taste of zero flavor, not even the taste of my own mouth, neither sweet and delicious, or bitter, or sour. Or the taste of strawberries Romanov, that restaurant in Bonn. Or stolen plums, remembered on a January night when snow's falling. Is this just dream stuff, Or is there enough sense in the senses for the mystical to prove itself real as any truth? Yes, it's wondrous strange. But I must ask my muse to save me from contriving a forger's touch of moonlight on the page. Senex on Market Street. It's a sonnet written in Shakespearean form, preceded by a line from Shakespeare. Thou that art now the world's fresh ornament. Posh totty totter past on serious heels. In handsomeness, with confidence, they walk towards exams and don't know how it feels to hear the fateful tick-tock of the clock. Young women and young men, I too was young, believe that if you can. But years go by until one day you find your songs are sung. Ambitionless, your sap and tears run dry. There's something I must tell. Need you know this? I loved a woman who dressed as well as you, but I can't give the past false emphasis, for even old love is forever new. When she walked out, she dulcified the air, and so do you. To say so is only fair. For my son's, I think, 6th birthday, we arranged a party for him and his contemporaries at Taper Primary School. Friend said, you must have a focus, so I had a conjurer. And this poem just tells the story of what happened. Poem for a birthday. I still can't get over that lousy conjurer. Oh, 30 quid's worth of rank incompetence. It wasn't yesterday, 11 years since, almost to the hour. That slipshod sorcerer, butter-fingered wizard. Remember when no kids applauded as each trick misfired, and he didn't notice? Then did it again, and laughed it off, tittered, perspired, wiping his brow, until his grand finale, when the white rabbit shat on his shaking hand and made a break for it. Don't shilly-shally, bunny boy. Run for it. We'll understand. You deserve a magician. We all do. And that fake pencil-line moustache which fell off, don't be like him. Just you be true to you. Do what you do, my son. It'll be enough. And the poem with which I'll conclude is called, well, it was a poem that was asked for by Caroline Duffy for a poet laureate for an anthology she was editing called Jubilee Lines, and poets were assigned a year of the Queen's reign. I got 1956. Class photograph. Renfrew High School, 1956. We were Elizabethan girls and boys, too young for politics, too old for toys. Then Hungary and Suez changed all that, or so it feels in tired old retrospect. Nostalgia corrodes the intellect. It makes you want to eat your coat and hat. One foot in childhood, one in adolescence. Rock around the clock made far more sense even than the Battle of the River Plate. Stiff upper lips and Royal Navy dash, its technicolored brio and panache, heroic, goreless, brilliant, out of date. Like Ovaltinis in their start-right shoes, it catches up on you, it really does. This looking back, this old class photograph. Beblazered in our uniforms and ties, who he, who she? Pensioners in disguise as who they were. A pictured epitaph. Pillar boxes still red, though not much else is. And the scarcely visible orthodoxies, all still in place, plus global urgency. Destructive wars abroad. And yet, God bless democracy, dissent, and the NHS, which underpins our civic decency. Thank you very much.